to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I was working in my lab late one night.
And I'm Gary. And today we're going to review and discuss What We Do in the Shadows, which came out in 2014, written and directed by Jemaine Clement and Taika Waititi. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story No, sorry, I can't keep that up. Well, the story follows a group of vampires sharing a house in Wellington, New Zealand. We follow Viago, Vlad, Deacon, and Peter as they try to adapt to modern-day life by bringing in a new vampire.
We are trying to attract victims to us.
Not sure about the waistcoat.
I go for a look which I call dead but delicious.
I didn't realise it, but this film took apparently nearly 9 years to complete.
Yeah, well,
from coming up with the original idea to actually getting the script together, getting the actors, and then filming the entire thing.
Yeah.
And from what I've gathered from different snippets of information, is that Taika and Jemaine, they completed the script between them over this extended period of time. And then once the script was ready, they got the cast, they got the location, and then they just chucked the scripts away. They just went, we're not going to give anybody the scripts, and we're just going to improv the entire movie.
Nice.
The two of them had an idea of what they wanted to do for every scene, and then once they performed it, they were just like, so how do we make that funnier?
Yeah.
And they filmed over 125 hours worth of material.
Yes.
And that is why it took another whole 12 months to edit it down to get to a 90-minute runtime.
Because everything's so funny in Jemaine Clement's world.
yeah.
And Taika Waititi's. I mean, I'll apologise now just in case I do get his name wrong, because I've tried for many years to pronounce this guy's name ever since I saw the trailer for Thor Ragnarok drop.
Right.
I was a Marvel fan up to that point, and then Thor Ragnarok dropped, and I'm like, I'm a boy all over again. This is fucking amazing.
Well, Taika Waititi is pretty much rejuvenated the Thor character for the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, well, he took the... I remember saying at the time, like, what they were doing with the Hulk character, because, nothing had happened yet, that it was very risky, and then what we got, his idea, his approach to it, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And so I was going back, and I'd always been interested in seeing Eagle versus Shark.
Very good film.
Simply by the poster.
Yeah.
But I'd never, nobody had ever caught.
Independent movie, very sweet love story.
Yeah. And obviously Jemaine Clement as well, Flight of the Conchords. I mean, we watched shit tons of Flight of the Conchords back in the day, and it was just like, this is just great.
There's another big film that Taika Waititi did that I really liked, and that was The Hunt for the Wilder People.
Yes,
that was a film for me that put Sam Neill back on the map. I was like, see, he's a great actor. Why aren't you people using him more?
Well, this is it. Well, he's done a lot. Sam Neill's done a lot, and a lot of it involves dinosaurs. So give the guy a break. He makes a lot of money, and then he just goes into hiding. But just watching Taika Waititi's approach to films, I get a very Wes Anderson feel from him, but not so eccentric and crazy. Everything is still kind of grounded in realism. So, just last year, I was like, I need to watch What We Do in the Shadows. This guy is just showing me, I think I watched the trailer for Jojo Rabbit that day, and I was like, I can't wait for this. Went out, bought What We Do in the Shadows, came home, slapped it on, watched it all the way through, was like, that was the greatest vampire movie I've seen in ages. Took me 3 months to convince the wife to watch it, and she was like, really? And I was like, this movie's great! And then we were asked to do it for the review, and I wasn't too sure about watching it, how I'd feel watching it third time in such a quick succession.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole film is in the style of a mockumentary.
Yes.
So, you're thinking of like The Office.
Yeah.
It's taking the supernatural this time around, like vampires, and then putting them in the mundane day-to-day existence. And the opening of the film just nails it. The clock hits 6 o'clock. You see the hand come out of the coffin, fumble around for the button, and you see the majestic vampire hand come back like, woo. And then the coffin lid comes off, and the big reveal is as Viago slowly raises up.
They nailed everything to a T with this. We talked about. Sorry, Hannah, we didn't get you in for this film, but we talked about vampire mythology ages ago with Hannah, and how there were set rules and there was laws, and then they just threw them out the window with what we do in the shadows. So I was like, this is we have the coffin and we have him slowly rising, but then you throw in Taika Waititi's kind of flamboyant, gay approach to his character. Well, he's not really gay, but it's very, like I said, he's very eccentric. And the way he kind of teeters up to the curtains, he's like, I always hate this part. And he just kind of, and you're like, yeah, because if we're sticking by the law, you were going to just burst into flames.
Right.
This is always a really scary part for me. Yes! Nighttime.
And so we are slowly introduced to these 4 flatmates. Because he explains that some vampires, they live for a very long time.
Yeah.
Some of them are hundreds and hundreds of years old, and sometimes they just like to go to these quiet rural towns like New Zealand and become flatmates.
Yeah, you've got Vladislav, played by Jemaine Clement, who's 862 years old. Love the shot where he opens up the door and it's like the 3 sisters from Gary Oldman's Dracula, and I'm like, yes, he's the erotic dark one, the one with all the power to be able to just have whatever he wants. You've got Deacon, who's 183, hanging up in a closet.
He's always doing crazy things, saying crazy things. He's just like the young bad boy of the group.
For me, he's like your version of the Lost Boys and Near Dark.
Oh, yeah, he's very young. He's still very young. The time that he was there, and he's got all this freedom now. But I love the fact...
find out that he was a Nazi. A Nazi vampire. Which makes it even worse.
I don't know if any of you know, but they lost. I'm like, how are they... Immediately I think, how are they so out of touch? And then I'm like, because they're vampires, and this is what vampires do. But going back to Deacon, the fact that he's in his closet really makes it, like, the third time around, I'm like, everybody else can have these flamboyant rooms. You can give a vampire a giant crypt, and a coffin and all that. But at the same time, all he really needs is a dark space to hang upside down from.
Yeah.
Peter, played by Ben Fransham, who's in the basement. Salem's Lot.
Right.
Terrifies the shit out of me.
It's Nosferatu.
It's Nosferatu, it's like is that what happens if you don't feed for a long time, or if you just keep mutating? Because he's 8,000 years old.
Exactly, yeah. I think that's what kind of did it.
Well, this is it. I'm like, hang on, so vampire, this means that Viago, Vladislav, and Deacon, at times, even if they continue having a standard diet of human blood, they are still going to turn into this Nosferatu-looking motherfucker. It's great. It's fucking absolutely great. I love the setup with the beginning. The fact that we've got this unholy masquerade that's happening in Wellington, New Zealand, and it happens every couple of years. And this is the first time a human documentary crew have been given all access to this event, and so that's why we've got the cameras following them around, and it's all docu-style. But I love the fact that they're like, yeah, we've got this giant ball. It's just a big get together, and you get the flashes of all the different pictures over time, and it's just like they have so much fun. They have so much fun.
This is bullshit.
So we kind of get like bits of backstory for each of the characters.
Yeah.
And I love Viago. He's just kind of explaining like he had this lover.
Yeah.
And he was she moved away.
Yeah, she moved to New Zealand.
He got his manservant, his slave, to post his coffin to go and be with her.
Yeah.
But it gets explained that he put the wrong label on, and so his coffin went on like a 2-year trip around the world before it got to where it needed to. And so when he finally went to go and find his lover, she'd already got married and had settled down. And so he was just like, oh, okay then, well, I'll just leave her to be happy now. And you see him sat there and he's like, I've got this silver necklace. And she's got the picture in it. And he's like, I put my own picture in there as well to be with her. And he's like, but it's made of silver. So I can't wear it. But I'll put it on now. And he's just sat there. And it just starts burning. And he's just like, yep, I love this woman, so I'm going to wear it, and I'm going to burn for her. And he's like, no, burn.
Yeah.
It's a great little moment.
It's just it just feeds into this whole backstory for Viago, where he's lonely, and that's how he's ended up with these 3 other kind of also lonely flatmates. Because we hear from Vladislav, like I said, Vlad I thought was like the most powerful. He looked absolutely badass, but he's had some terrible losses to the Beast, and the Beast has taken away a lot of his confidence. So you see him trying to do like hypnotic spells to people through windows.
It's just not working.
See me, and then he has to tap the window to get the guy.
The guy still doesn't really pay much attention to
Do you want to come in, mate? He's like, yeah. Deacon as well. Deacon's got a familiar. He's got a servant, Jackie. And she comes round, and obviously she cleans up the place. She brings victims to the house. She cleans up the messes that they leave after, and they leave a lot of mess. Like I love the fact that Viago, like I said, is just so eccentric but also quite clumsy, and he's got the victim on the sofa and he's getting ready to like, okay, we're gonna have our thing now, and then he bites and the blood just.
Well, he explains, and he was like, look, you guys are making too much mess, just put some newspaper down, and it'll be alright. But yeah, he nicks the artery.
But Deacon's is like, I don't need to, I'll get Jackie to do
Clean up the mess. Yeah. I love the fact that they're all getting ready for their night out on the town.
Yeah.
And they're all putting on their favourite vampire clothes. But they can't see each other. They can't see themselves in the mirror.
No.
So they have no idea whether what they're wearing is good enough to go out in. So they have Deacon sketching what they look like, and they're like, "That's what you look like." And they're like, "Oh, I'm going to put something else on." You get the montage of them just quickly changing clothes before they head out onto the town, and then we montage them trying to get into established nightclubs, and they can't get in because the bouncer's like, "You just go in,
just walk in,"
and they're like, "No, you have to invite us in," and the bouncer's like, "Just go in."
Yeah,
but they're like, "Oh, we'll try somewhere else."
And it's just vampires dotted all over. You got the little kid vampires, plays into the whole aspect of you die as a kid, you're going to stay as a kid. And then you got that lady it's an old colleague that she worked with before she got turned into a vampire, and she's draining him absolutely all night. Then you meet up with Rhys Darby and his group of werewolves, and I just love the fact that this whole universe now has been kind of expanded. It's not just vampires; it's this whole supernatural element. We're werewolves, not swearwolves.
That is probably the greatest line in the film.
Sorry,
we're werewolves.
Not swearwolves.
What are we?
Werewolves, not swearwolves. They get silence.
No, it's
It's a very offensive word to call people.
And yeah, they have that standoff moment where you're like, are they going to fight? Are they going to fight? And they keep winding each other up. And the werewolves are getting angry, and they're like, look, calm down, you just brought that new t-shirt. Like, you're going to rip right out of it. And it's like, look, I told you guys not to wear jeans. You need to wear tracksuit bottoms.
Yeah.
You're going to rip right out of them.
Totally makes me want to watch Underworld every time I see him want to fight. But we are introduced to Nick. Nick is brought to the house by Jackie to be fed on by the guys, and there's that great camera shot POV sequence chasing him down the corridors, and the vampires all jumping out at different points.
I just love the fact that Jackie was just like, yeah, I brought these two. These are your 2 virgins.
Yeah.
I'm looking at them, I'm like,
Plus you only bought
I don't
2.
think so,
There's 3 vampires, there's only 4, sorry.
Well, finding virgins, I guess, since the sexual revolution, pretty difficult for these vampires.
Yeah.
I think of it like this. If you were going to eat a sandwich, you would just enjoy it more if you knew no one had fucked it.
But Peter takes Nick, and Nick is now turned, and we start to follow his introduction to the group, but he's not really accepted.
It's 2 months later, and he makes his entrance through the window.
Oh, he loves flying, man.
He's like, it's the only good thing about being a vampire.
Love the whole change sequence. Him going to the doctors, him looking at himself in the mirror, realizing his reflection starting to go. Like, there's that whole contorting moment on the bed, which is just weird. And it's like Peter changed Deacon, and he changed Nick. We don't know if he changed Viago, and I don't think he changed Vlad. But, there's this like whole new aspect now where Deacon is kind of jealous. Nick's now the cool dude because he's bringing in all this new stuff. And Nick is just like, yeah, screw it, I'm going to tell everybody I'm a vampire. So he tells his mate Stu. And out of all of the characters in the movie, from the vampires, the werewolves, even the zombies that turn up later, Stu is probably my most favourite, because he's the most relatable.
Well, the actor playing Stu, not an actor, not really.
Right.
They hired him because the ad said they needed somebody to work on computers.
Nice, yeah.
And literally the character he's playing is a computer
analyst,
person.
yeah.
And so throughout the whole film, this actor, this guy is just like, what the fuck is going on?
Totally. There's the conversations he has with Nick. Nick's like, he used to go out with my sister, and we've just become mates, and we hang out all the time. And all right, Stu, and Stu's like, yeah. He's just like agreeing with like everything, But that's how I kind of felt, because I'm like, how did the cameraman feel in this? Because there's no reporters, nobody with a microphone like leading us through. It's just what, 2 cameras, following them around.
But yeah, I mean, in some films like this, the actual camera operators are an entity. They're a person, they're a personality.
Yeah.
In this, they are not. They're silent. They don't say anything. They're just there with the cameras. And occasionally, you get reminded of it when a character just goes, "Oh, what's with the cameras?" You're like, "Oh yeah, there's cameraman."
But Nick has revealed a little bit too much information, and a vampire hunter turns up at the house, and Peter is killed. And I love the fact that it's very quick. Viago's just literally gone to bed to wank over his ex-girlfriend's face. We actually do see her. She's like, what, 95 years old?
Yeah.
And he doesn't know if he should meet her. But there's the whole dark approach. Is he going to turn her? Is he going to, what's he going to do? So he just kind of stands outside her window. And then when he wakes up in the middle of the night, they rush to the basement, and Peter is on fire, running around, and they can't do anything. Vlad has a cup of water.
Yeah.
It's like 1 cup. And he dies. But then we start to deal with the after effect. The vampire hunter, Deacon's explanation. I believe the vampire hunter fell through this window, broke the table, awoke Peter, and Peter killed him. And they try to like, oh, who's this guy? Let's turn his head around the right way.
Yeah.
And Nick realizes like, oh shit, I met this guy.
Right.
And Peter is now completely destroyed. But introducing the cop element, they're coming in, and if they're going to see this, it's gonna break the world. It's going to change everything. So Viago's like, you will not see anything strange.
So the police are just like, well, we'll just like to go down into the basement. There's like 2 corpses down there. Yeah. And the police officer's like, well, I think it's pretty clear what the problem is here.
Well, they see the guys, don't they, fighting in the kitchen, flying around.
Yeah.
And he's just like, oh, you see what's up there? No fire alarms. Oh, right, yeah. We should totally get fire alarms.
Right. So the police are gone. Okay.
But Nick has to face the judgment of the other housemates, and they basically they banish him.
Yeah.
After the procession of shame. Shame. Shame.
Shame.
Shame.
Shame. Shame.
Shame.
Bad
Shame.
vampire.
Shame.
Shame. I mean, I think that's probably my all-time favourite moment of the film, is just watching the 3 vampires shaming another vampire. And it jumps ahead a couple of several months, which I always find is a bit weird. Like the documentary crewmen have been with them this whole time, but we haven't seen that footage.
No.
From the moment Nick leaves, it's then a couple of months, and they revealed they've got the invitations for the Unholy Masquerade, and Vlad's quite excited. He was going to be the special guest this year, but instead they've invited the Beast, and having this drop in every now and again in the movie really puts even a bigger, darker undertone into the movie. Like there's something out there even more scarier than these vampires. But Vlad's like, I'm not going. No, and he starts to like deteriorate, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he stops eating. He starts decomposing. He starts to look really grey.
Let me do my dark bidding on the internet. What are you bidding? On this table.
Like, great play on words. Yeah, very good.
But the boys go there, Deacon and Viago. I love the fact that Viago was going to dress up as Blade the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
One year I dressed up as Whoopi Goldberg from Sister Act.
But vampires don't like nuns.
And when they get there, you realise that the beast is Vlad's ex-girlfriend, which the first time it was revealed, I was like, how did I not think that it was going to be something as silly as that?
Right.
You know, it was going to be something as obvious as just an ex-girlfriend who's pretty damn hot.
Right.
You know? And they have this whole zombie vampire ball going on. And Nick has Nick's been having a whale of a time. He's turned Jackie. He's brought Stu with him to this party. And
I love the fact that Stu is sat there talking to the zombie, and the zombie's just like, "How'd you end up like looking so clean for a zombie?"
Well, you can smell him, can't you?
Right.
They're all starting to like. There's
wait a minute, you're not dead.
There's something not right. I wonder, like, the Beast's boyfriend, like, is he another Nosferatu? Like, is he just living in the sewers a lot? Because he looks pretty. He's pretty gone.
Doesn't look like he's looking after himself.
No. And then I look at the Beast and I'm like, why are you with him? You should totally be with Vlad, because Vlad turns up to save everybody because they all want to eat Stu. Of course they do. He's a human, and they have that vampire fight, which is. Like you've seen it at different points in the movie where the vampires start getting like chesty with each other, and you can totally see the strings, or you want to see the strings, and it's non-violent.
It's not very aggressive, is it? Yeah. It does seem very camp.
A lot
of hissing at each other. Yeah.
But Stu is the hero of the day because Vlad is actually getting his life drained from this other vampire,
right?
And Stu impales him straight from behind. Doesn't instantly kill him, but they all try to decide now, right, we're going to escape. And as they all escape out into the streets, and everybody's so happy to get back together. Nick's been accepted back into the group. Vlad's looking great. Stu's obviously, everybody's happy to Stu's back.
Sure.
Stu's great. Stu's great. But it's Deacon again. He can smell the werewolves, and as they head out into the woods, the werewolves are busy trying to tie themselves to the trees. I just love that whole, bringing it back up. Like the werewolves always seem to be a little bit smarter than vampires. These vampires are so backwards.
Right.
They're throwing their messages when using their mobile phones, where the werewolves, they're actually thinking, hey, if we chain ourselves to trees, we're not going to eat anybody. If we wear tracksuit pants, we won't rip any of our clothes. But with the arrival of the vampires, everybody's aggressions are up, and the werewolves turn, and the suits look.
they're pretty campily awful, but there's a couple of shots where it's silhouetted where you just like, that don't look too bad.
No, that's it. It takes me back to Dog Soldiers every time.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, if you put the lighting in a particular way, it does get silly though, because Stu. With everybody, a cameraman is killed actually,
right?
And then another one films Stu being basically just tossed back and forth,
between the wolves
by the wolves, and you've got Nick like just screaming for his buddy, Stu, and Deacon has to come and save him, and it's quite a heartfelt moment because, see, it's going to reveal spoilers, but you're sat there like, oh man, Stu's been killed.
Yeah.
And Deacon's kind of sat there with his mates like, I am very sorry. You have to watch your friends die, but he comes up with some really weird, elaborate ways to die, like lying in a bunch of autumn leaves and getting them trapped on your windpipe. But then old age is like the very last one, and I'm like, and you're kind of like Nick. Nick's looking at the camera like,
what's he going on about?
Or falling asleep in an autumn pile of leaves and having some of them block your windpipe.
But then the vampires all head back, and the police have to deal with the aftermath. And it's a short time later that Nick calls the house, and as he turns up, Deacon answers the door, and Stu's alive, and obviously he wasn't killed or destroyed by the werewolves. He was turned and survived, and so now he's a werewolf, and they've got all their werewolf mates, and Nick's going to invite them to hang out with all the vampires, and
everyone just gets along.
Yeah, it's just a happy ending. I mean, Vlad and the Beast, they get back together, but yeah, that was never really going to last. Really.
No, it's just going to repeat.
It's just going to repeat. They're just going to have mindless sex, and then things are just going to go back. But yeah, just seeing all the vampires and the werewolves just sitting in the house. There was a bit of a smell at first.
They managed to air it out.
Yeah.
So they did actually plan on making a sequel or a sidequel to this one, which was to be about the werewolves.
They should make it like a trilogy.
What We Do in the Moonlight.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yes.
But apparently it's just something that Taika and Jemaine, they just kind of bounce ideas back and forth just so that they can pretend that they're working on a movie.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's all the other projects they're working on.
The What We Do in the Shadows TV series, which... Yes. You know, after seeing this film, I was just like, I'm not that fussed about the series because it's none of the cast.
Yeah.
But it is, but it is those two still.
Yeah.
Writing, directing, and producing the actual TV show, which is almost a retelling of the film story.
Yeah.
But opening up the world to all of the other supernatural creatures. And, them more out in the world. There's like daywalker vampires. There's, energy stealing vampires. And they just talk to you in a monotone voice until you literally feel the energy just leaving you. There's emotional vampires that are just like, oh, woe is me. Feel sorry for me.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, isn't life so bad for you? Just that's those sort of vampires.
You're like, oh, you're leeching from me.
So literally all the ideas that they brewed in this movie, they got to really unleash in the TV format, and really play up those ditzy type of vampires while still paying respect to its mythology. So I don't think we'll actually ever see a sequel film or sidequel film because the werewolves have turned up in the TV series as well.
Never say never, man.
So... I'll never say never. They still could do a theatrical movie, but now that they have the TV platform, all of those ideas are just bleeding into that, which is also fine.
True. I mean, was it still one season?
It's 2 seasons.
2 seasons at the moment. That's cool because I you obviously get all the ideas out. I remember seeing on BBC Two late one night What We Do in the Shadows, and I turned over thinking it was the film, and I'm like, this is like, it's almost finished. It's like half an hour episode, something like that.
20 minutes.
20 minutes. So it was really short, and I was like, oh, it's the TV series, and I had to quickly turn back over because I didn't want to spoil anything for myself for watching the film.
Yeah, it does have an overarching story plot line as well.
Yeah.
And if you're a fan of the film, you would probably I wouldn't stick your nose up at it. You're going to get more of the same.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Iain, favorite scenes
from
What We Do in the Shadows?
So many. Love the curtain sequence initially, him getting ready. I always hate this part, like he's just, like every night he could kill himself. And it would be funny just to see somebody accidentally.
Right.
All the backstories for all the vampires, just each one of them is an individual, but at the same time, very, they're vampires. They all do the same thing, but they're all trying to be cool and, hip, especially in front of the cameras. Would they be different if the cameras weren't there? Wearing the silver necklace and burning himself, just Taika Waititi just kind of sitting there, kind of grimacing like hell. Viago again, the woman on the couch, just the way the blood pisses everywhere. Like, you've watched a lot of vampire movies, and most of the time they don't care. 30 Days of Night, they didn't give a shit. They just burn the whole town down. And then you get Viago who's like, oh my god, shit. I love the camera work for chasing Nick around the house. I mean, you can easily just see the cuts and the edits, but it's just the way it plays. There's a sequence where he runs around one corner and Viago steps out and is ready to get him, and then he turns around, the camera follows him, he runs down another, and Viago's there, and then they're all flying down the corridor as like a group,
Isn't there a Deacon's like in a backpack?
Yeah, like
missing his legs.
Like he turns up, and then he's calling out the backpack, and Vlad's got his cat face on. I'm like, this is all stemmed just completely from Nick thinking that they've stuck drugs into the spaghetti, and they do the whole Lost Boys sequence. It's great. I love what they did with the Deacon versus Nick fight. When they're fighting over the jackets or telling people who they are as vampires, and you're looking at the bats and you're like, that's totally fake. But it molds in really well just with the whole other aspect of the film. The trial of Nick, shame. It just makes everything just so corny. And Rhys Darby. I think Rhys Darby is great in everything.
He really is. He's a chameleon.
Yeah.
He's such a standout character actor.
Actually, no, he's the same guy in everything. The
it's
guy,
true.
but it's just it's like Rhys Darby turns up. I'm yay!
yeah. So recognizable, I should say. Yeah, he's great. Yeah, there are so many great moments in the film, and there are so many that you probably forget, and there are so many moments that you probably didn't even pick up on, even after repeat viewings of the film. But these are the ones that stood out for me, and I loved the werewolves when they first turned up. And I love the werewolves not being able to, not wearing the right clothes. I love swearwolves. I loved Deacon's sexy dance.
Well, no, I didn't even write that down. I was watching it. I was like no, I'm
because
not.
I was just like, what is this?
I am doing an erotic dance.
Experimental.
I sat there for the third time. I'm like, this is one of those paddings for independent films. But I'm looking up. I'm like, stop dancing.
But it's the way they entertain themselves, because the other two were sat there like, this is very good, very good. And then of course Nick, just flies in where he's trying to get in through the window, but he's still an amateur, so it's the way fumbling through.
He says to Deacon, he's just like, Deacon's so pissed off at him. He's just like, no, carry on. I really liked it. I saw the end. It was great. He's just trying to be friends with Deacon. It's great.
And he's just like, why didn't you just use the door like normal people? He's like, well, I'm a vampire now, I can fly. I love Iago putting the newspaper down in his kill room. Especially then when you see the blood fountains. I loved Vlad's torture chamber.
Yeah, I come here when I want to go to dark place. It's like the whole corny joke where it's just like, I used to poke people. I was known as Vlad the Poker. Fucking Jamaican man.
And then the follow-on joke when he's on the computer later, and Steve's like, well, we can poke her. Vlad's just like, yes.
Do that.
Oh, yes.
Or we could poke him.
Yes.
I loved Deacon's origin story with Peter. How he was just like traveling along and he saw this dark, gloomy castle and he was like, "That's a great place to go to." Yeah. Got turned into a vampire.
And this was Peter.
And we've been friends ever since.
Peter's just like, all right.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Peter maintained this whole
silent but
evil monster thing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I always expected him just to be like, walk into the kitchen, he's making soup. Like,
yeah. Viago's just like, I should bring you a broom. You can clear out all of these skeletons. Here's a chicken. Yeah. I love the policeman going around the building, trying to find evidence. It's right there in front of them, but they've been enthralled, so they can't see it.
Oh man, the chip sequence. Don't eat that.
Don't
chip.
eat that chip. Yeah. Something like chips.
Are you okay, Nick? Right?
It's one of my favourite foods. Can't eat it. That being a vampire sucks. I love the Cathedral of Despair. It's actually just the local bowling club.
Yeah.
And it's all of the strange characters that are inside it. This film is insane. It is so creative, and it pays respects to the mythology of vampires. And it does it in such a creative and fun way. Like, when they were making the film, we got hit with, like, a wave of vampire films, when all the Twilights and things came out.
Yeah.
And when they were making this, they were just like, look, is this still a good idea that we're doing this now? Because vampires are back in the limelight.
It went so under the radar when it came out. It was like, here's the trailer, and it was gone. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. But no, it just seems like it was perfect timing for this film. Because they handle it well and the jokes land.
It's a cult classic before it's even a cult classic.
Yeah, which is why I'm easily going to be recommending What We Do in the Shadows. For me, it was a very amusing film. It still feels fresh. The mockumentary style really works with the humour and the tone of the film, blending the lines of reality and absurdity.
Yeah.
The actors are all fantastic, and the characters are all distinct, well portrayed, and expertly performed. There's a layer of comedy flowing all the way through the film, and there are comedic lines of dialogue that you probably won't pick up on until those repeat viewings. It has plenty of laugh out loud moments and so many callbacks to the vampire mythology and pop culture icons.
Yeah.
Such a simple concept, held together by genius ideas and perfectly pitched oddball humour. Cult classic in no time, this film.
Ah, man, it's an amazing vampire movie, and it's from the guy that brought you Thor Ragnarok, so pick one and go watch it. Jojo Rabbit's really good as well. I mean, the only thing that this guy seems to touch, should just end on just gushing over Taika Waititi.
Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.